teens, Mark Bolan. Mark Bolan always knew where he wanted to be, way out in front.
What about telling them I have sex 5 times a day? Do you think they go for that? I said, oh, yes, that sounds good, yes, we'll put that story up.
He was gorgeous, very pretty boy, and definitely had his own style, his own image.
Dipping into his dressing-up box, he introduced the gender-bending thrill that began glam rock.
We call it today the X Factor. It's what I call charisma. You can't buy it, you can't teach somebody. He had it, Bolan.
Well, I saw my baby walking with another man today.
The young Mark Feld grew up in London's Jewish East End, but the soundtrack to his childhood was pure American rock and roll.
When I asked her what's the matter,
I first met Mark Bolan, I was probably about 12, 13 years old. He was always stood out. He always looked like a star. It don't matter if you've been an actor, a writer, a singer, or whatever, a painter. He wanted to be a star, Bolan.
By 15, Mark was earning money by modelling.
You know, he wasn't very wealthy, but he still presented himself. I mean, he was the only guy around town with, 15 suits and 5 good shirts and a cane.
But he was determined to make it big with his music.
Mark was desperate to be a star. And I was on the New Musical Express at that time as a journalist. Mark would come up and just try to sort of, get a foot in the door. And he would tell us, that he was going to be bigger than the Beatles and bigger than Elvis. And he would literally say things like that. We'd pat him on the head and say, yes, of course you will, Mark. Now come back when you're old enough to buy a drink.
For the next 5 years, he drifted between bands. Then in 1967, he teamed up with bongo player Steve Peregrine Took and found a champion in Radio 1 DJ John Peel.
Who's playing here, actually?
Well, right now there's a group called t.rex. Mark decided to go out and form his own little group, just the 2 of them, and it's very beautiful.
Okay, let's have a look.
Okay.
I went to see him because I knew he was going to come and see us. He was playing at the Lyceum, and there was about 3,000 or 2,500 people.
Only held 1,500.
Did it? Okay. I like to exaggerate. Anyway, it was packed with what I would call hippies, and he was sitting cross-legged on the stage, strumming away the guitar. It was just very weird.
But the hippie crowd were never going to get Mark to number 1. By 1970, he'd given Tyrannosaurus Rex a new image, and kids were dancing to a new sound.
He just lost his, what I would call, underground cred audience and suddenly became a little girlie's dream.
By harnessing the rock and roll riff of his youth, Mark put the fun back into pop, and T.rex was born. The formula worked. In March 1971, Mark Bolan was finally where he wanted to be, number 1 in the charts.
We play for the kids that never saw the Beatles. They're seeing us as those sort of people, because they never saw it, they weren't around it. The average age of the audience is 15.
Glam rock had arrived. Hot Love was its first number 1, and the press had a new catchphrase.
Pop music saved me from my environment. I wanted something else. I wanted something beyond regular life, and I got that around about 11 when I first was introduced to Mark Bolan and T.rex, and this mystical thing happened to me where a doorway was open.
It just let me know there was something else going on out there. You weren't sure even what it was. You couldn't even give it a name. There's something, the way he will glitter on his face, the way he was kind of effeminate. It's hard to believe now, but it was very shocking at its time.
Mark's pantomime stage persona caught everyone's eye.
I think everybody's parents were a little bit shocked with feather boas and wearing makeup. Very feminine.
June, his wife, was responsible really for his look. I mean, I don't think Mark got that look together. It was all to do with June.
When it came to wardrobe and makeup, I think glam stars had women behind them, egging them on, really.
He was kind of a boy-girl, or a girl-boy, or a boy-girl, what was he? And that was the fun of glam rock.
I'm gonna change Madonna. Was that squirm factor? You kind of watch with your parents, and if everyone's squirming uncomfortably, you know it must be something good.
Certainly, there's been a change in England in 2 years. And we are part of the change. I mean, guys now can wear makeup, they can shout and scream.
Most of my mates, even at 11 or 12, would look at Mark Bolan and you wouldn't think, you know, puff or something like that. You'd think, God, he's gonna pull the girls. I want to be like him.
Selling records was all Mark cared about. And now he had a follow-up to write.
Yeah, I remember I was walking down the corridor in a hotel and he had his room opposite me and he stuck his head out. He said, "You got any drums in your room?" I said, "Well, I have. I've got a snare." He said, "I'll bring it down." And he went through this lift and get it on. And he said, "What do you reckon?" I said, "Yeah, could be all right."
You do sweet Cadillac, don't look back, and I love you. You're dirty and sweet, oh yeah.
Get It On was Mark's second #1 in the UK. T.rex had turned into a pop monster. In the next 3 years, he would have 3 #1 albums and 10 top 5 hit singles.
I remember backstage at Wembley, we did these 2 concerts for the film Born to Boogie, and Ringo Starr was the director of it, and he said, as a Beatle, "I've never seen anything like this." He says, "Those girls are crazy." And they were.
Fame and adulation had a noticeable effect on the ambitious star.
Fancy's fine, fancy's good, everybody says it's just like Robin Hood.
It went bigger than anyone could believe at times, and then eventually you start to believe it a little too far, and he already had that in him anyway, with or without it. He already had that confidence and that swagger.
He was totally selfish, in a nice way. I mean, I'm not saying he was a bad person, but he was all about me, 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 me all the time, and there was really nothing worth talking about unless it pertained to his career.
Did he know what he had when he had it at the time? I have to wonder.
Whatever happened to the teenage dream?
By 1974, Mark's star was waning. His original teen fans had grown up and moved on. New teenagers were looking for their own heroes.
When the T.rex singles started to sell less, I think that was quite traumatic for him, and combination of getting quite pudgy and starting to drink too much brandy and starting to do cocaine. I think he just lost his way. You know, he was only ever meant to be a star for kind of 3 years. He had his moment in the sun. I don't think it was ever going to last anymore, but he couldn't handle that.
Life's a gas.
You know, he was stuck in some kind of teenage dream.
And I hope it's gonna last.
Put the radio on. And last night in the news, and also last night, pop star Mark Bolan killed in a car crash.
On the 16th of September 1977, Mark Bolan and girlfriend Gloria Jones were involved in a serious car accident. Mark died instantly.
My reaction was one of stunned disbelief, and it shook me up a little bit because Mark, apart from being a client, was a friend.
I was dancing when I was out.
You know, I mean, it was kind of unbelievable. It really affected me. I felt a really sad loss.
I danced myself right out the womb.
He was like James Dean, you know, like, you know, die young and leave a good corpse. He had that fascination with that, and he talked about it a lot, and unfortunately he got it, you know. And my mom raised him well. I'm alive here, and I'm proud. But, you know, I know for sure he wished he would, I know for sure he wanted to live.